this is what you hear from the lower majors, that they're a minor league now.
Ah,
They're a minor league. They prepare all these kids. They get good. They jump into the portal, get a big paycheck, and they've lost them.
you are listening to the Bridging Impact Podcast, transforming leaders on and off the court with host Coach Furtado. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast. Today, we have a great guest for you all today. Our guest of the day is Mike Ross. Mike is the founder of ConNEXTions Foundation. ConNEXTions Foundation is a great platform to mentor student athletes. All right. Mike's impact on sports and business has caught the attention of high-profile platforms, leading to his participation in LeBron James' top-class docuseries in collaboration with Olympian Allison Felix in launching Seish, her new shoe line. Ross's valuable insights help navigate the challenge of entrepreneurial ventures in the competitive sports industry. So I'm excited to dive in. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you for having me, Justin. It's great. I'm looking forward to sharing some information and knowledge with the audience.
Absolutely. So before we kind of dive in there and share about the impact that you're having now on student athletes, I want to know, what made you want to get into working with student athletes? What kind of impact did sports have on your life growing up?
Well, it started early. I had three brothers, so we were pretty competitive in the house. My mother's a saint, and so we every night we'd be playing in the backyard and be competitive, and we'd switch teammates out, and it just shaped my life because our whole life when we were growing up was sports. We went from one season to the other, from baseball to basketball to football. And that's why I encourage a lot of the athletes now, if you're a 2-sport star or a 3-sport star in high school, just enjoy it. It'll all work out.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great point. And it's just so nice to have filling your life, right, with those friendships and with those opportunities to play and just have fun and be a kid. And so I definitely have some similar experiences with that. And so, as you kind of reflect and look back on the importance of sports in your life, I know, I would love for you to share, what was kind of the reasoning, the why behind wanting to found the ConNEXTions Foundation.
Well, we grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. We moved out here about 12 to 15 years ago. And to help our youngest daughter, we have 3 daughters, help her reach her dream in the entertainment industry. And she got signed out here for singing and acting. And so to get that going, and then starting our residential construction company that we've had design build, I had a need to fill a void in my life in sports. Because everything I had done is up to that point was in Cleveland, Ohio, and where I grew up. And so out here in Los Angeles, I had a big void. So about 5 years ago, when LeBron moved here from Cleveland and enrolled Bronny at Santa Monica High School, his 8th grade year, then the next year he transferred him over to Sierra Canyon. I immediately got attention to that and contacted the school, Sierra Canyon, and the basketball coach to see if I could in any way just donate my time to help out the program. And the reason was because I coached against LeBron when he was a senior in high school. And I thought this would be really exciting and fun to get back into the area that I have so much knowledge in, and that's basketball and coaching experience and so forth. And so fortunately, the Sierra Canyon welcomed me in and started getting into the gym with all those players that first year with Bronny, Dwayne Wade, BJ Boston, Dwayne. Then we had Mari Bailey, Zaire Williams. They're all in the pros now, and it was just a great experience with that. And so what happened was I started. After practices, I started talking to the kids and working with them in the gym, and one thing led to another, and then the pandemic hit, and so I couldn't get into the gym for 2 years because that was a policy of the school, and so I said, this is something that's really a lot of fun, and it seems to be going well. And the parents are getting to know me and they're trusting me, and my knowledge and how genuine I am about wanting to help all the kids. And so that's what I started Connection. And now it's been 18 months roughly since we officially had the nonprofit set up.
Thanks for the background story on that. I think that's a very cool opportunity and recognition. I think especially during the pandemic, if we can kind of look back to that point, what do you think athletes were struggling with, most at that time? Obviously, a lot of their programming had been shut down and everything went virtual, and that outlet was kind of taken from them. Were you able to kind of continue to help the athletes through that time?
Well, it was frustrating for Sierra Canyon, I can tell you that, because they won a big regional championship game against Etowanda, and in 4 days we were supposed to go to Sacramento for the state open division championship, and they canceled the game the night before, and I felt so bad for those kids. Going to a state championship in any school, in any sport, in any state is a lifetime memory, and I felt really bad for the kids that they didn't get a chance to experience that year. And then after that, the seasons were halted, and so the kids are trying to get scholarships into school that next year. They didn't have games to play, so they couldn't get noticed by the scouts. So it was very frustrating. And I know that it was the longest year in history for Sierra Canyon because they had to practice for 12 months straight because they didn't know when the season was going to resume. So it's really difficult for the coaches, the kids, and the administration. Everybody, it was a tough time, but good things came out of the pandemic, and we don't need to get into all that. But it was just great getting back into the norm 18 months ago or 2 years ago.
I think talking about the norm and just change, right, that the pandemic brought, one of the things, that I feel like, you talked about in our, pre-conversation emails is talking about kind of how NIL and the transfer portal has really changed how high school athletes get recruited and how anyone gets recruited. So can you share a little bit of your wisdom on, for the parents and coaches that want to learn a little bit more about how they can help their high school athletes? How has this landscape really changed, and then what can we do about it as coaches for our athletes?
Boy, Justin, the NIL landscape is a long conversation and a full time
Yeah.
job. There's no doubt about it. But basically, the landscape on the NIL is when I end up talking to a college coach or a college program or a parents, the very first thing they ask me is, Mike, can you get my son or daughter an NIL deal? Because we can definitely use the money.
Right.
And that's like the first question that I get. And now it's the first question that the coaches are getting in college with the transfer portal and the pay to play. The first question is to the coaches. Even Nick Saban has talked about this at length. The first question is, how much are you going to pay me, and how much am I going to be playing? And that's one of the reasons why Nick Saban has retired, because it's a different landscape now. My advice to the athletes is it's to just don't base everything on how much you're going to get paid. You have to weigh other factors in. Do you feel comfortable on the campus? Does the campus have the education that you want to have? Is it the right atmosphere? Do you have a good chemistry with your teammates? How about the coaching staff? Do you get along with the coaching staff well? Because once you make this decision, you're going to be there, and you could be unhappy playing the sport that you love, despite the money.
Right. And I feel like that's one of the, like, I guess, first kind of lessons they're almost getting into, life beyond high school athletics is, kind of wanting to chase the money instead of, focusing maybe on a program like, maybe whether it's a Division II school or a quote unquote mid major that, has a coaching staff and a great, facility, and the major that they want that may be kind of specific and niche. And so kind of going the route of what's best for my development long term versus let me get this cash right here, right now, because I've been, whatever I've been paying to play for clubs or whatever it is for so long. I think that's kind of an interesting perspective. And so with that, what do you think how do you help athletes kind of figure that out? Like, what are those good questions that high school coaches and, club coaches should be asking their athletes to help guide them in that direction?
Well, the first thing with the parents and the athletes, the it's out of whack a little bit, the NIL publicity that you see, because when I was there at Sierra Canyon, Bronny was getting huge NIL deals,
Right.
and that's not the norm. The average NIL deal is around $1,200 to $1,500 per
Right.
athlete. And it's not 5 million. It's not 500,000. It's the landscape is different, and when you look at it from that perspective, so the athletes are looking for, another thing is the brand. So I don't encourage them to just jump on any NIL deal, because you have to look at your brand and the product. Do you really want to push that product and be associated with that product? And so that's a really big thing. Now, there is a positive to all this, and a big one that I've seen quite a bit, is that many of these athletes have pressure on them from a very young age that they're pro material. From a very young age, from junior high through high school, you're a pro player. You got the talent to go pro, and there's a lot of pressure on these kids that to make the pros. And then another pressure sometimes comes from within the family, where we need to hurry up and get you the pros, so that you can buy us a house and so forth, and our family will be taken care of. And these are just young kids. When I was at Sierra Canyon, Bronny's 15 years old. These other kids are 16, 17. They're like normal teenagers,
Right.
and they're being thrust into a business decision world at such a young age. And so what I think so good about this, the NIL, is it stops the big rush and the pressure for these kids with pro potential to have to get to the pros so quickly. So it gives them a chance to enjoy a normal college life and develop and get a degree. And that's a real big positive. My two goals in the foundation that I have for every one of my athletes, number one is to get their degree. But while they're getting their degree, we use their athletic talent to maximize the money that they can make during that college experience. And we hope that they save enough money. We teach them how to do that with wealth management, to save enough money so when they graduate from college, they can buy a house or put a nice deposit down on a house. And they have a degree and they have a house. Now we can talk about the pros, not just icing on the cake.
Right. I love that. I love that you all and Connections works on financial management and wealth management, because I feel like that's something that should be taught in high school levels. And again, that's probably a full another podcast in educational realm that we could totally dive into. But I think that's really important, is just to recognize and teach those life skills, right, through the NIL. And so they can enjoy that collegiate experience, so they don't have to, jump, especially in basketball, but also football and baseball and the other sports, if they don't have to jump to the professional leagues when they may not developmentally be ready, right? Because they feel like they need to support their family, and then they end up kind of getting chewed up and spit out of the G League and having to go overseas and be away from their families. And so I'm sure you've seen a ton of stories in different ways when what happens when the process gets rushed.
Oh yeah, and I think most of the college coaches want to be a teacher, and they want to develop the kids both mentally and physically, and get them through college 4 or 5 years. They really want that, and the transfer portal is just something that came about. It's not necessarily something that everybody wants, but this is the way it is, and so everybody has to adjust. And this is one thing that I teach all of my athletes at Connections, and that is one of the keys to getting to the next level is problem solving. And if you have two athletes with the same ability at the same school or another school, but the same ability, the one who can solve the problems and solve them the quickest will get them to the next level. And that's why sometimes some of these great athletes don't make it to the next level. And it's a shame, because they have the ability to do it. And so I try to get them on the mental aspect of this and teach them how to be an entrepreneur, how to solve problems, and how to not make excuses. Don't blame it. Don't blame other people. Don't blame the coaches. Just solve the problem and move on to the next step.
That makes a ton of sense. And that's a very important life skill, right? And I think even with my training philosophy, one of the things that I do are, certain small sided games and constricted learning. And the best basketball players or any sports, they're good problem solvers, right? When someone closes out on this side, I have to make a decision using my skills to get to the basket to make a play for my teammates. That's a micro problem that I'm solving, right? If I'm just doing the same thing over and over, it's like block training and I can only solve one problem. Well, I'm not going to be very flexible and fluid in the game of basketball. And so I like how you've kind of continued to apply that with life. And, I think one of the bigger problems that I guess I kind of see, and I'm just kind of curious to learn a little bit more about you, is just about the transfer portal and how that's also affected, high school athletes being recruited, especially towards the, higher level Division I.
Yes, right now it's really tough on the marginal athlete that is on the edge of going to Division I, because the coaches in the college will go to the portal first. They'll go to junior college second, and then they'll go to the academies third. That where the athletes replayed their senior year of high school in an academy, and then that leaves finally the high school athletes. And sometimes they only leave one scholarship for high school athletes, and the rest go to those three areas. So it makes it difficult. So one way the coaches and the parents adjusted is the rule was initially that you transfer one time and that's all you can do. And so therefore the coaches were okay with grabbing someone on the portal, because they knew that if I grab a freshman or a sophomore that's from the portal, then I have them then for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Because they can't transfer out again unless they want to lose another. They want to sit out a year.
Right.
But now they're coming back with, now they're saying that they can transfer twice, and so now the coaches got to adjust again, and so therefore you don't know how long you're going to have that student athlete with you.
I did see something that it was talking about how coaches have to recruit internally first and then they go to the portal just to make sure that they keep their own guys, just because, guys or girls, right, because they have those options, right? And so have you seen, and from the collegiate coaches that you talked to, has there been, and you kind of mentioned it with Nick Saban earlier, has there been an extra challenge with the transfer portal and NIL for, coaches to try and get buy-in and build a team culture and have it be kind of team versus, NIL and certain things that can kind of become individually focused?
Well, the obviously the financial end is a big one, Justin, because you have the haves and the have-nots. So you got a school, let's say, like Mississippi in football, and the SEC, and their collective group is, and NIL that they're getting for those athletes is like way up there in the top schools. And then you got a school like Pepperdine on the West Coast, or Howard on the East Coast, which are small Division Is, are just starting a collective, and looking for finances to get the good athletes to come to their school. So therefore you even if a school like Mississippi or the SEC, Big Ten, they lose a kid, they're going to have a good chance of having 2 or 3 other ones that can jump and take their place, because they have the money to pay these players more and keep them there.
Right. Yeah, it makes it more challenging for a school, of course, like Pepperdine and Howard to be competitive at that certain level, right? It feels like the divide is kind of continue to go, I guess, go even further, even though I do think, with this upcoming March Madness, it's going to be pretty competitive and it's going to be a lot of fun. But it is harder to try and compete for those top level talent.
This is what you hear from the lower majors, that they're a minor league now. They're a minor league. They prepare all these kids. They get good. They jump into the portal, get a big paycheck, and they've lost them. And
Right.
so that's what they're. But once again, the coaches got to adjust, and they have to solve the problem. and make it work for their schools. I know one of the things that I'm going to be working on really hard at Pepperdine, since I'm on the athletic board and the university board, is what can I do to help Pepperdine get to the level where they can compete with St. Mary's and Gonzaga's in basketball. They're already competitive in beach volleyball and men's and women's volleyball and water polo and tennis and things like that at a high level. But basketball, we're building a brand new basketball arena that's going to be beautiful, and we're hoping that right now we're getting a new athletic director and a new basketball coach, and so this new basketball coach who's going to have knowledge and the ability to navigate through all these waters. There's a wealth of talent here in Southern California that could be going to Pepperdine to turn it into a real powerhouse.
Yeah, I love that. What are some of the strategies that you all have to continue to grow out the basketball program to be competitive with, St. Mary's and Gonzaga?
Well, that's what we're working on right now, Justin, with the team that has been put together by Jim Gash, the president, to work on the collective and to work on the system that's set up right now. It's ever changing because we really don't know all of the landscape of the rule changes that are going to come about yet, either by the NCAA or it's going to be handled by the government, by Congress.
Right. So you're kind of playing wait and see right now for some of the regulations and rules that are coming down the pipeline.
Whatever the rules are now, we go by it. In 2 weeks,
Yeah.
there's probably some rule changes, and then we have to adjust to that.
There we go. It's that problem solving though, right? We have to model the way for our athletes.
That's right.
So with that, I know that, ConNEXTions also has some summer sports academies coming down the pipeline. And I'd love for you to kind of share about those. And if any, coaches have athletes or parents that are listening that have athletes that may want to join the foundation, how can they do so?
So the summer camps hit that one first, Justin, and basically what I'm looking for, everything that I have done over the years, no matter what program or company it is, we always try to be first class, top notch, great experience, transparent, all the things that make something high quality that someone's going to want to do again, and they're going to want to tell their friends and their family and teammates. So that's the same philosophy that we're putting into the summer camp that we're trying to start up this year in Los Angeles only. And it's going to be a great experience for the kids, and a totally different type of camp because it's going to not be one sport specific like basketball or baseball or volleyball. It's going to be all the sports for male and female, just like ConNEXTions. We mentor male and female athletes in all sports. And there is one thing in common with all the sports, and that is your core and your strength and your power and your speed. I don't care what sports you're in, but to get to the next level, you have to increase your power and the speed, and you have to have a strong core in order to compete at the next level. And so that sports performance camp going to be run by Travis Crittenden, two-time Super Bowl winner, who was the sports performance coach for the Kansas City Chiefs for 8 years. He's going to be running the camps, and he's just a phenomenal human being. His energy is contagious. He's very knowledgeable, and it's going to be a one-of-a-kind camp. And then what we're going to do after we get off the field, we're going to take a break for a great lunch with high-quality food, and we're going to move into the classroom in the afternoon, and we're going to have a panel of experts, NIL, a nutritionist, wealth management, skill coaches from pro and Division I colleges, so that all of the athletes can have a chance to ask questions to the panel and learn a lot about the landscape. We're doing 2 camps in Los Angeles this summer. More details will come on that pretty quickly. And then the goal is next year we're moving to a camp to Alabama, Virginia, Michigan, and San Francisco. So we'll have 6 national camps to spread the word about ConNEXTions and to help kids in all over the country.
I love that. There we go. I mean, I think that's incredible for, I recognize that, part of what we've incorporated for our BTG basketball club is we have leadership classroom sessions and we have, strength and conditioning alongside, of course, basketball coaching training. And, trying to really develop those well-rounded athletes. I think one of the things that I really love about what you all are doing is the wealth management and just kind of the life skills that's really preparing them with the entrepreneurial mindset and in the problem solving. So we'll make sure that in the end, I'll have you kind of share where they can kind of stay tuned on that, because I think that's going to be an incredible opportunity for the parents and coaches to send their athletes to this summer if they are in Los Angeles or California and want to fly out, right? I mean, make a little vacation out of it.
Yeah, there's definitely a need for this, Justin, and you work with these athletes all the time, so you know there's a definite need for this. There's companies and agents around the world that do one sport like this. They do basketball, they do baseball, they do football, but everything under one roof. There isn't one globally right now that does what we're doing, which makes it so much fun and so special to get in. Which brings it to answer your other question: how does an athlete get into to ConNEXTions? It's only an elite group because globally right now on our roster we have 24 athletes, and we could have hundreds. But the criteria is, number one, they have to have the ability to play college sports, Division One.
Right.
They have to show the ability. That's the initial criteria. That eliminates thousands right there. But it helps me in my overall goal, where I'm trying to make sure that this athlete, because of their ability, gets a degree, a full scholarship, and they save enough money in college to buy a house. Remember, that's the goal, the end result. And so in order to achieve that, they have to have the ability to play Division One. The second criteria is that they have to want to play in college, because sometimes, as you know, the parents are pushing them or the friends are pushing them, and it's something that they played since they were 5 years old, and sometimes they're just burnt out. Sometimes they just want to try something different. And so I interview the players and the athlete and the coaches and the parents and everything, and I find out, does he really want to play there, or he or she really want to play in college, and that eliminates some of them, believe it or not. And then the final criteria is, there a need for what we provide. 95% of the athletes have a financial need. In order to level the playing field, we give them all this professional training and skills training and power and speed and nutritionists and wealth management, because the elite athletes that are the top 50, let's say, in the state or in each state, they've already got this paid for in one way or the other, or they get it free, because the establishments are figuring, well, they're going to sign a pro contract, so I'll just get the money on the back end. So not a level playing field, ConNEXTions comes in, and the kids that don't have the financial resources, they're asset restricted, we can pay for it through our foundation, all these sessions, given the same pro training that the other athletes are getting. So this levels the playing field. And so the 95% of them need the financial help, because it's single
No,
parents.
yeah, no, that's huge, right? So they may have the innate and athletic abilities, but you also need the training and support to have the technical skills to continue to maximize that genetic potential that they have. So that's really important. And can kind of talk about, as we kind of hit the 2 minute mark in the fourth quarter of our podcast, just what the process, when they join the program, what is that experience like for them? What kind of mentorship is it? Are they matched with other former athletes? Do they get one-on-one conversations with yourself? How do they kind of maximize that time and experience?
Well, Justin, the believe it or not, the first question that comes to the mind of the parents is, all right, Mike, what is in this for you? There's got to be something in this for you
Right.
financially and that type of thing. That's the first question to wrap their head around it, because they're wondering, all right, you're doing all this, providing all this for these kids, and it's all free. And because the foundation pays for it through donations and grants and sponsors. And I have to tell them that I love this. I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years, and two of my daughters are entrepreneurs, and the other one works in the front office for the San Francisco Giants. So they grew up with this, and I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and my wife also. and I have my love of sports. So this kind of combines all of that together, and I can share my knowledge with these athletes and the parents. It comes very easily, and for me, and it's very, very gratifying to follow these students from freshman year in high school all the way through college and beyond. It's very gratifying to be part of that inner circle, per se, of these families, and gain their trust, and because that's what it's all about. It's all about trust. There are no there are no stipulations. They can stop working with me at any time they want, and it's just based on trust, and they see the results when I connect them with my professionals like you, and you're training them, and the nutritionists and the sports performance coaches is a big thing when they start working with them, and just start working with a professional soccer coach for one of my athletes, and when they get connected to these professionals, most of them have no idea how to find one. They don't know, who do I contact for beach volleyball, for a skilled coach in beach volleyball that will send my daughter to the Olympics. And most parents don't know where to find those people, and that's what I do. And I bring those people to them, and the foundation pays for the sessions, and it's like a miracle for them.
That's amazing. You're becoming the connector of all the resources and the opportunities, because it is. Sometimes I'm like, especially for a niche sport like beach volleyball, right? Where do I go? Do I just Google it? And I think that's it's really wonderful. And I know that, I think I'm glad that we got to connect and I got to learn from you today, because I have similar aspirations. I'm kind of just beginning my entrepreneurial journey, but I love sports and I love working with athletes. I named it Beyond the Game because my goal is to help. I may not have the same elite athletes that you do, but my goal is once they stop playing basketball, that they're going to learn how to be great leaders for our community for many years to come. And they understand how to get into college, how to advocate, how to communicate. And so I really enjoyed that. And so my last kind of question for you would be, for a young coach like myself, what advice would you have for me to continue to expand my ability to make as big of an impact on athletes as I can?
Justin, that's a really good question, and it's so an easy answer because now social media has opened the door for free for any coach like yourself to go on there and send a motivational message, show your lessons, sessions with your athletes right on social media, and just post them. And it's just so easy now and free to motivate and send these messages out and build your business and build your brand and market it and still help the kids. A kid in we have 3 kids from Africa. A kid from Africa on social media and see you in the sessions, and they learn just looking
Right.
at what you're saying to the other basketball players on the internet in a session for 10 seconds. They
Right.
pick up a fundamental just like that. So that's how I feel, that it's the beauty of social media now.
All right. Well, no problem with that. I just got to pick up the phone and make sure I hit record. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you spending time with us today on the podcast. Where can people find and support the ConNEXTions Foundation?
If they go to the website, connections.pro, and they can go there and they can send the contact information to me, and then I will let them know what they can do to donate. They can also donate right on the site. There's a donate button. They can make a monthly donation that they want. They can they can do a yearly donation, or they can contact me. We can talk about sponsorship of ConNEXTions, a main sponsor of ConNEXTions as we go nationwide, and we're really starting to spread out, pretty popular in Los Angeles already. And then also the sponsors for the summer camps. So
That
they can
sounds
get
good
all
to
the
me.
information on how they can jump in, be part of the team, partner with us, and have a lot of fun enjoying the journey, because we'll connect them with these athletes that we have on the roster. 3 of them have Olympic projected, 9 of them have projected to go pro already. and so they can be right in that as part of the family, following the journey of these athletes.
Right on. That's amazing, and thank you for the work and the impact that you are doing and the wisdom you shared with our audience today. I really appreciated it, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you, Justin. I really appreciate the opportunity. Love to come back again and talk about something else.
There we go.
All right.